And let's say now someone who is let's say starting their tax practice or they want to make a career in tax, आपके हिसाब से ऐसे कौन से अपॉर्चुनिटीज है ग्लोबली आउटसाइड इंडिया दैट वो इंडिया में बैठ के भी काम कर सकते हैं एंड ग्लोबली दे कैन केटर टू अ लॉट ऑफ क्लाइंट्स, लाइक कौन से सर्विसेज या फील्ड हो गए?
Let me answer your question slightly differently, Kushal, because you're asking me a very, very interesting question. So, as an organization, we in Dhruva, करीब 7 साल पहले we had a partners meeting and we realized that UAE, United Arab Emirates, had no taxes and for the first time was introducing VAT. VAT was of course a 5% tax which would pass to the customer. And we all sat back and reflected कि ये ऐसा देश है जहाँ पे there is no requirement to maintain accounts, not do audit unless you wanted money from the bank and you got your accounts audited, but nobody, there's nothing mandatory. And now suddenly they will have to produce their accounts to the tax office to demonstrate what is a taxable turnover and what is not a taxable turnover. And we decided to set up an office in UAE. Today we have 2 offices, one in Dubai, one in Abu Dhabi, and we are a team of 120 people there. We are probably among the largest tax practices in that country. And while we have a variety of talents, so we have got people from Australia, Ukraine, Africa, Egypt, whatever, but bulk 80% of the people are Indians. And if anybody has understood the Indian law and Indian tax law, you can practice anywhere in the world. I think Indians have this ability to go global. I think we are not being entrepreneurial enough. One thing our Prime Minister has taught us is to be entrepreneurial, be adventurous and do things. And the world is an oyster for us. We need to be. Your question, of course, to me was, can I do things in India for the world? Which, of course, you can. And those are global capability centers. Kushal, you know that there's a particular capability center which has got more than 4 lakh people doing only global tax work sitting out of India.
Wow.
Okay, that's a massive scale because anything that can be done electronically, you can do it here. So, for example, if you have to do US tax filing return, and each state has a different requirement, then you can sitting here and be trained on it and do it in India. When it began, very interestingly, you filled in the return, but when it was required to be signed, it has to be signed by a CPA. So it would go to USA, a CPA would sign and file. Then people started getting trained as CPAs in India, and they didn't even need that. So they could do all the work themselves. Similarly, look at transfer pricing. Now, what is transfer pricing? In very simple terms, it is transactions between related parties who are doing things globally and to show that they are at an arm's length. That in each country, you have profits which are commensurate with what work you are doing there. मतलब ये जो कानून है ट्रांसफर प्राइसिंग का, ये पूरी दुनिया में एक ही। अगर आपने इंडियन ट्रांसफर प्राइसिंग किया, आप कहीं पे भी कर सकते हो। Now, global documentation happens in India, and India is very good at it. There are people who understand that, people who practice it, and there are tens of thousands of people again being employed by BPOs, KPOs, global capability centers to do that. So there's nothing which you can't do. One of the barriers used to be language, and now Indians have come back to say, okay, if I need to do tax filing for a European country and it's Italian thing, I will learn Italian. What's the big deal about it? And we have seen people do that. So frankly, you cannot sign off unless you have qualification, which is acceptable to that other country. Other than that, in terms of your ability to do things, your knowledge is all there and you can do all of it.
तो आपने बताया एक जीसीसी ग्लोबल कैपेबिलिटी सेंटर एम्प्लॉयज 4 लाख पीपल, तो आप एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हो कि एग्जैक्टली ये जीसीसी काम करता क्या है, एंड आप जब बता रहे हो ग्लोबल टैक्स का पूरा काम करता है, तो क्या क्या सर्विसेज देता है एंड कौन से क्लाइंट्स को एंड उनको कैसे बेनिफिट होता है?
सो नाउ वी आर मूविंग अ लिटिल बिट अवे फ्रॉम टैक्स बिकॉज capability centers, PPOs, KPOs, capability centers, whatever you want to call them, essentially operate like factories. They are people who are process oriented. They are able to perfect a process कि अगर आपको ये करना है, there are 70 things that you need to do, and they train people how to do those 70 things, and you produce output, which is almost like a factory. Now, Indian BPOs, capability centers, do everything from accounting. आज जो पूरी audit होती है, so take for example, this is how it began, कि अगर आपने एक company ले ली like IBM, now IBM के अगर number of workers हैं, there are more people in India than in USA.
Wow.
India is the highest employment center for them, okay? Because the consulting work that they do overseas is best done from India at a much lower competitive cost. अगर इसकी accounting करनी है, so there's an accounting center. अगर उसकी audit करनी है, all audit is done electronically today. Why does that person who is doing the audit need to sit in USA? You can do the entire audit from here. After you have done the audit, you have to determine the income. The people who understand all of that here, they can compile the return here. Everything is possible to be done out here. So today, 90% of the audit is completed here for the purpose of review by a audit partner in USA who thereafter reviews, ensures quality check and signs it off.
Got it. And इंडिया में बैठ के अगर कोई यूएस सिटीजन है या तो कोई दूसरे सिटीजन है, मैं उनके इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न्स इंडिया में बैठ के फाइल कर सकता हूँ?
बिल्कुल कर सकता है, बट एज आई सेड यूएसए में एवरी रिटर्न इज रिक्वायर्ड टू बी सर्टिफाइड बाय अ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, व्हिच इज नॉट सो इन इंडिया. सो अगर आपने कोई पोजीशन ली है यूएस टैक्स रिटर्न में, it has to be signed off by a chartered accountant, and who can sign off only if he believes that more likely than not you will succeed on that. So return can be prepared by anybody in India, but ultimately it will be signed off by a competent person. If that center has got a capable certified person to do that, he can do it here. Otherwise you do all the work, goes to USA, they sign off there and then move on.
And when you say chartered accountant, is it the CPA or
CPA? That's right.
Okay, got it. तो उसके लिए फिर CPA भी करना पड़ेगा?
बिल्कुल करना पड़ेगा. And there are thousands of CPAs in India.
Okay, got it. Fair. And one more thing, so you said कि UAE में जैसे आप डिस्कशन कर रहे थे आपके ऑफिस में कि जब बैट आया, that was like an opportunity. ऐसे आज की तारीख में आपको कोई ऐसे कंट्रीज, जैसे 4-5 कंट्रीज दिख रहे हैं जहाँ पर टैक्स में कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी आ सकती है इन टर्म्स ऑफ वर्किंग और हेल्पिंग क्लाइंट्स इन दोज कंट्रीज? ऐसे कोई 3-4 हो गए?
So let me answer it this way. We are lucky. We went to UAE when the tax was being introduced. क्योंकि हर प्रोफेशनल के करियर में जिंदगी में शायद एक ऐसा मौका मिलता है when you are at a place जहाँ पे टैक्स पहली बार लागू हो रहा है. That happened. Now 4 साल के बाद corporate tax came. There was no corporate tax. Now we started working on corporate tax. Now transfer pricing has come there, so we are working on transfer pricing. Now tomorrow, individual tax in the company, there is no individual tax, it's still only corporate tax. Okay.
Achha,
we have different opportunity altogether.
So there's no individual tax in Dubai?
In UAE.
Yeah. In UAE.
That's right.
Okay. So only companies pay tax?
Yeah. In fact, in the entire GCC, 7 countries in GCC, the only country which levies individual tax is Oman. Others have not yet introduced. They will introduce at some point of time.
Okay. कौन से ये बाकी के 6 countries?
So you have got Qatar, you have got so UAE के पूरा Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain. These are the countries. So they all have started introducing. Kuwait was the last to introduce corporate tax. Okay. Individual tax is just one country. Nobody has introduced individual taxes.
Got it. So if let's say someone is staying in these countries, उनको इंडिविजुअल सैलरीज पे कोई भी टैक्स पे नहीं करना पड़ेगा, बस कंपनी जो प्रॉफिट्स कमा रही है उस पे टैक्स पे करना पड़ेगा.
If you learned something new from this video, do share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel so that we can bring you the best content possible. Also, if you want to watch this entire episode, click on the link in the description box and you can go to Kushal Lodha YouTube channel and watch the entire podcast episode. Thank you so much for watching this and have an amazing day.